All right, so now all we have to do is to create a new page for our list of users. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna close all, then I'm going to collapse everything inside the app, and under the dashboard sections click the routes. Here I'm gonna create a new folder called users, and please make sure that is what we exactly given for that routing for this particular user in app sidebar. Then here I'm gonna create a new folder. Wait a second, why is this happening? Yes, now it's okay. New file called page.tsx. All right, so next, one second. Let me arrange my tabs. Yep, here we go. All right, so now here what I need to do is let's bring that server component, which is going to say this is as the users page, and let me say div. Currently I'm just going to say users page. Save it, and now I should able to see the users page. Yep, now we are in the users page. Now all we have to do is to bring that what to say, we need to bring the layout for this users page where we can display the that custom breadcrumb section, then custom heading sections and all those things. So that is what we need to do first. So let's go ahead and bring that now. Okay, so let me structure this one properly first. So let's say I'm going to delete this, bring it as a section tag. Then here I'm just going to say class name, flex, and flex it's going to be a column direction, and flex needs to grow completely. Then width of course full, height of course full. Then padding px it's going to be 2, py it's going to be 4, and elements between the gap it's going to be 4, right? And this is the place where we need to bring the breadcrumb, right? This is the place where we need to bring the breadcrumb, and this is the place where we need to bring the headings, and this is the place where we need to bring the data table, the list of users data table where we have to display. So let's go ahead and create a component for our custom breadcrumb where we can reuse that components as well as, and for breadcrumbs we do have something over here, breadcrumbs. This is what I'm talking about, right? So we can use this, but we need to make this component as a reusable, because otherwise we can't keep on write the same stuff in every pages. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create myself a new custom breadcrumb .tsx and mark that as the client component client. Then all we have to do is to say RAFC. Okay, and say use client RAFC custom breadcrumb. Okay, custom breadcrumb. Then here let's create an interface custom breadcrumb props, open it. Then we need the custom what current page we are and the list of pages, right? So let's create that, which is going to be breadcrumb page, and that is going to be a string. Then I need to supply the breadcrumb items. This is going to be the array of string, which is going to be have the link for that particular pages as well as, and that should be an optional one, and it's going to carry an array which going to be an objects array of objects where it's going to carry the link, and that is going to be string, and the label for that link, and that is also going to be a string, right? Then let's destructure it over here, custom breadcrumb props, where we can get the breadcrumb pages and breadcrumb items. Save it. Now we have that, and now let's get into the breadcrumb section in your UI, and let's copy this and let's import it straight away over here. These are the things that we needed. So inside over here, we can make some customizations. That is what we are going to do now. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this. For the time being, I'm going to paste it straight away over here, and let's check it out whether it is how it's looking. So let me bring the custom breadcrumbs from items, which I need to supply the breadcrumb page. What page currently we are, which is going to be the users page, and the breadcrumb items where we are currently, and it is going to be an array of objects. So the label currently, we should give the home page, and we need to give that I think breadcrumb items currently we don't need to any, because we are not inside any sub pages. We are directly under the users page only. So we don't need to supply the items, just supply the breadcrumb pages itself. And if you check it out, this, yeah, this is how currently it's looking: home, components, and breadcrumbs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to restructure this a little bit. So inside the breadcrumbs list are there, and breadcrumbs item is there where we can see the home page, right? The link, everything is going to be perfectly fine. Once you click that, it is going to take the user to the dashboard home. It should be written only inside the dashboard / dashboard. Then instead of simply displaying it as a home, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this, and inside I'm going to bring the home icon from Lucid React. Then I'm going to bring the text as home. Oops, home, something like that, right? So for this home, I'm just going to adjust the sizes a little bit. Width, of course, it's going to be 3. Height, of course, going to be 3. And margin right, it's going to be 2. Then for this breadcrumb, I'm just going to say class name, flex item center, and justify center. That's how it's going to be. And if you feel the height and width are a little bit too small, then you can adjust it as per your requirements. Okay. So now we have the breadcrumb link and this breadcrumb items. It's completed. Now what I need to do is, so this is the place where we are going to render that components based on the items array which we are supplying from the main side, right? So this, I'm going to chop this out, and inside this area, if I have the breadcrumb items, if I do have that, then I need to render this. So I'm going to bring the React fragment. Inside this React fragments, I'm going to make sure breadcrumb items dot map, then open a rendering function in it. And here I need to access the item and the index of that item, right? And inside here, every time whenever the item is coming, we need to bring that breadcrumb separator, right? This separator. So first I need to bring the breadcrumb separator. Okay, we need to bring that breadcrumb separator. Then right after here, I need to bring a new breadcrumb item. Breadcrumb item. Inside this item, I'm gonna bring okay, this is also needs to be inside a React fragment. React dot fragment, import it dot fragment. Then only you can supply the key property. That's the reason we are using here. Here also you can define it like React dot fragment, just an empty fragment, or you can simply give it like this also, it will work. But since I need to supply the key value, I need to define it like this. So that's the reason. And here I need to supply the index as the key. Then I can put it inside the separator and the breadcrumb. Okay. And inside this breadcrumb item, now I need to bring the breadcrumb link. Bring the breadcrumb link. And now inside this breadcrumb link, this is the place where we need to render the item dot label. And for this href, which is going to be item dot link, right? Then I think that is pretty much enough. I think so. And for this breadcrumb page, this is the place where you have to display the current breadcrumb page. Breadcrumb page. And here we need the separator, breadcrumb separator. That's how it looks. So currently we are from the home, we are inside the users. So think about it. If you are supplying any items over here, for instance, breadcrumbs items, I'm going to supply the list of objects. For instance, for the time being, let's say the label object. For that label, I'm just going to say list of users, something like that, list of users. Then I need to supply the link for that, which is going to be slash dashboard slash user something like that. So if I supply the list of arrays, and this is how it's going to be. Now when the user clicks this particular link, it will take that user to that particular page. So you can supply the list of array of objects that is going to keep on insert that value. So we can use this object as this particular component for displaying the breadcrumbs as much as per the requirements which we need, right? And let's see how does it looks on the light mode. Okay, on the light mode also it's looking perfectly fine. And now we have to bring the heading where we have to display the headings for the users, right? So let's go ahead and display the heading. I'm gonna bring it as a div class name, and width of course it's going to be full, flex item center, and justify between. And inside here, this is the place where we need to bring the headings. So I'm going to create myself a new component called headings, and that's the place where we have to send the title, and that's the place where we have to send the description for that. So we don't have this heading component, so let's go ahead and create that component under the whole components folder, which is going to be the headings.tsx, and mark this as the use client component. Now inside that headings component, so for that RAFC, I'm just going to say headings, and I need to create a props for this. So let's create a props for interface headings props. Open it. I need the title, which is going to be the string. Then I need to supply the description, which is an optional one, and that is also going to be string. Okay, and inside here let's destructure it and get that headings props, and as well as let's get the title as well as, and let's get the description. Oops. Now for this, I'm just going to say margin top little bit 4. Then instead of this headings, I'm going to bring the h1 tag where we have to display the title. Then I'm going to bring a paragraph tag. This paragraph tag needs to be rendered only if I have the description. If that says so, then I need to render this paragraph. Inside here, I'm going to bring that description. Okay. So now here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give the title as list of users. That's the title. Then I'm gonna say easily manage all your users from one central location, something like that, right? And that is the headings, and that is the description. Now if I save these changes, I should be able to see the headings and the title. And now I need to customize it a little bit for the h1 tag, how that style it's going to be. So for that, I'm just going to say class name text, which is going to be Excel, but on the large devices onwards, text needs to be 2XL, right? And font needs to be bold. Then text gray 800. That is for on the not gray. Let's use the neutral 800. That is for the light mode, and on the dark mode, it should be text gray 200, something like that. Oops, not gray. It should be neutral. Okay. Then for the description, let's say class name text, it's going to be smaller size SM. Then on the large devices onwards, LG, the text needs to be on the base size. Then the text gray color should be neutral 600 on the light mode. Okay. And on the dark mode, text color should be text gray 400. Oops. neutral 400, something like that. So this is how it should looks. Okay, that's how the heading will looks like. Perfectly fine. All right. So now right after here, this particular division, I need to bring the separator from add components UI separator. Then I need to adjust the margin a little bit, margin top and bottom. It's say 4. Now we have the separator over here. And this is the place where we have to bring the data table. So basically for the data table, if you check it out over here, data table, you have to install a very specific packages called this tan stack react table, right? This is the package that the ShadCN is using. So we need to add these two tables, and if you check it out, make sure we have the tables.tsx in the components UI, so you don't have to worry about the tables, but we need to install this external package. So let's go ahead and install the external package. Let me jump into the same and let me install it. Okay, so it's installed, and if you scroll all the way to the down, they give you the prerequisites that what are the things that you need to create in order to work with the data table. They give you a sample examples to understand, right? So this is how the folder structure it should be. For displaying the data table, you need the columns. What are the columns that you are going to display in that particular data table? So columns, it's necessary, and the data table component is necessary. Don't worry about the data table. They give you the complete code over here, data table, and they give you the list of filtering options also in order to how to work with that filtering options. Anyways, we're going to make some customizations in our data table in order to show some unique features in that, right? Just go through this documentation so you can understand. Wherever I'm copying and pasting the code, you just have to follow the documentation. I'm just copying the code only from there, right? And we are going to make some customizations for our own later. So first what we have to do is uh, I need to create the data table globally. So let's go ahead and create the data table globally. So now all I have to do is to, in the components folder, under the UI section, I'm going to create myself a data table as a global one, because we need to reuse this data table based on that value, whatever we are supplying into the data table and actions to the data table. So we are not hard coding it for a single usage. We need to make it as a reusable one. So now we have the data table in our hand, right? And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see how you have to render the data table. You need to supply the columns, then you need to supply the data to that particular one. So in order to supply the data and the columns, we have to fetch the user data from the database and we need to display it into our data table. So for that, we need to fetch the data from the users columns. So let's go ahead and fetch the data from the users columns first. All right, so now all you have to do is to get it to the actions folder and create yourself a new folder over here called users. And from now onwards, I'm going to put everything comes under the users inside this direct folder. And let me move it, and we are going to get the error. Somewhere we used the headers where, mm, oops, not showing the file location. Check the console. I used the get user by ID somewhere inside. Get user actions layout. Here we go. This is the place. I think we are getting the error. Let's save it and that issue will be resolved. The import statement will be automatically updated, so we don't have to worry, but you have to save those changes. And inside this users folder, I'm going to create myself a new file called fetch all users.ts. And then now all you have to do is to mark this file as the server file, use server. Then inside here, I'm just going to say RAFC, and here I'm just going to say fetch all users. So basically this function, it's going to be an asynchronous function. Asynchronous function. Come on. Okay. So don't do. This is normal TypeScript file, right? So we have to create it as a function, not a React function. So export const fetch all users is equals to an asynchronous callback function, and inside this function I'm just going to this function is going to return a promise, which is basically that promise is going to be the type of user which is coming from the Prisma generated Prisma array, right? And here I'm just going to use the try and catch. Okay, in this try and catch I'm just going to say console.log if there is any error is happening. So error on fetching users, then I just need to display that error message, what exact error that we are getting, error, and get the message out of that error and display that along with that error message. Okay, then I need to return the value as an empty array, because that is what it's expecting. It's expecting that data, because then we either we need to supply empty array or we need to supply the array of users to the data. That's the reason I'm sending the empty array. Then here inside the try, I'm just going to say get the user ID, authenticated user ID. If I don't have the user authenticated user ID, I'm not supposed to list out these list of users. So is equals to await auth, and I can access the user ID. Then I can simply say if I don't have the user ID, which means the user is not authenticated, then I just need to raise an error, throw new error. I'm just going to say unauthorized access. So that error message will be displayed over here. Then if I have the user ID, right now I need to fetch the users. Const users is equals to use the database instance. So await db database instance. Then from the user model, I need to fetch many, find many, open it. Then I need to order by the record based on created at field in the descending orders. Okay, save it. Then I need to return the users. Now we have ourselves a function without any type error and with proper exceptional handling and everything. Okay, so let me close this, and in the page.tsx, this is the place where we need to get the users informations, right? So for that I need to change this into an async function. Then I need to fetch the user function, right? So I'm just going to say const users is equals to await fetch all users. That is going to give you the users details. Now I need to create the columns page. If you check it out, you can see it does have a new columns page over here, column definitions for the payments. What are the columns that we are going to display in that, right? We have to create that particular pages as well. As under the users, I'm going to create myself a new components folder, components, and inside these components I'm going to create a new file called columns.tsx. We can simply copy it and we can paste it, and we can recustomize these data types inside it. So let us open the schema, right? Let us open the schema. What are the things that we need to display for that user? So we need to display the first name, last name, email, or yeah, we need to display all these fields. We need to display all these fields. So what we have to do is I can simply copy these fields from here, copy it, and let me get back over here, and I can simply paste it over here. Here. Use the multi-cursor editor, add the colon, then simply mark it as a string. Save it. And clerk ID is going to be string only. In our case, ID it's going to be the number. Clerk ID string, first name string, last name string, full name string, email string. This is going to be Boolean. Right, so now we have ourselves the columns for that particular users columns, column definitions, and it is not supposed to be the payment. We need to change this into users. columns. Change the name type of that. Okay, now first we need to display the image section. So I'm going to bring the image, copy and put it, and I'm just going to give the name as image. I need to display the user image. Then I need to bring the user email, and for that let's keep it as email itself. Then I need to bring the first name and last name. First name, first name. I have to copy this and let me change it. Last name, and for full name, and for the approval status. So let's change this into last name. This is going to be last name, and this is going to be full name. This is full name, and this is going to be is approved. This is going to be status. What is the status of the user, right? These are the columns that we need to supply. Now we have the column definitions, and now we have the data in our hand. And let's get back over here, and I need to supply the data table. So data table, table from add components UI data table. Then I need to supply the columns. So columns, you can fetch the columns from /components columns, which is nothing but your this columns itself, or you can rename that as per your convenience. And I need to supply the data. Basically the data, it's going to be the user's data. Let's save it, and you should be able to see the user's data. See, we have ourselves the data table. But the problem in our data table is it doesn't have the filtering options, it doesn't have the sorting options, and it doesn't have the pagination options at all. So all we have to do is to go ahead and bring all those options and everything just one by one right after that, right? So in order to do that, first let's get back into the data table over here. So first what I need to do is I need to have one more option where the user can search based on their names or anything. So for that, what I need to do is, if you scroll all the way to the bottom over there, you can see we have the don't worry about the row actions, we can work on the row actions later. And here our paginations, leave the paginations as well as filtering. Let's fix the filtering option first, because we need the column filtering sections, right? So for that, we need to copy and paste all these sections, all the highlighted one exactly in the same order. So in the filtering sections, first I need to copy over here. So I'm going to copy this column filter. Right after this column definition, I'm going to paste it. Then I need to bring the get filtered column row model, copy that, and right after this code row model, paste it. It's not necessary to be in an order, that anyways we can paste it in the same way. And right after this, I'm going to bring this import statements input button. Then I need to bring these two things. So I'm going to copy this state. So basically that state needs to be where it's supposed to be, right after here, over here. So I'm going to import the React. So save this. Now we have the state, and now I need to bring these two, copy it, and right after over here I need to paste it. Then I need to monitor the state. So I'm going to bring this state, then I'm going to put it over here. Remove the sorting, we don't have the sorting, so we can keep the column filters alone, because sorting we need to worry about that later. First let's bring this search options. Then what I need to do is I need to wrap this entire applications. This entire application, this particular entire division needs to be wrapped inside one more division, and that's the place where we are going to bring the filtering options and paste it. So now here in this filtering options, you have to copy this divisions completely, copy it, and you have to bring it over here, right? Save these changes. And for this is for visibility, so we don't have to worry about it. And now we can see we have the filter emails options where you can filter the data based on the email field alone. The problem is it is hard coded to the email field. Think about it. If you want to reuse this data table for some other purposes, for instance, where you are displaying the quizzes. If you want to search the search the quizzes based on the quiz name, then at that point this is not going to work. So what we have to do, we have to make sure that this is going to be a reusable component. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is, let me get to the top, and we have to add ourselves over here. Right after here, I need to bring myself a new option called search key, which is basically going to be uh mm, mm, mm. yeah, it is supposed to be a string, and it is a compulsory field. Then I need to bring the search key. Right now we have the search key inside, and let me get into the field. This is the place where we are displaying the placeholder. So I'm gonna bring the dynamic string literals. Here I'm just going to say search by whatever the field it is going to be. So search key, let's apply the search key. Then right after that, this is the place where it is basically filtering it, right? So I'm going to highlight this. Wherever the term email is coming, delete it and simply supply the search key. That's it. So now it is going to show you an error because we don't have the search key, because we haven't supplied the search key. So here you have to supply the search key, which should mark matches these images or emails or first name or last name, whatever it is, it should match that value properly. So you have to simply select these values over here. So first name or last name or email, I can simply say I need to search the value based on email, so I have to supply the email field. Now this will fix that issue. See, now I can simply search based on the email addresses. For instance, let's say if I simply give Galaxy any term, whatever the matches word inside that particular email, or if I simply say something like this, or if I'm giving something like this, see, that's how you need to use the filtering options, right? And now let's go ahead and fix the rest of the stuffs. And next what we have to do is we have to bring the sorting options. Sorting, this is the one. So self formatting and everything, I will show you how to do that. Now we have to go ahead and bring the sorting options. So for that, I need to bring the sorting state. Copy this sorting state, and at the top paste it, and get the sorted row model, paste it. Then you have to copy this particular state. While copying and pasting it, please be very careful where you are pasting it, because that might cause you an issue. Then you have to copy these two. Then you have to copy this sorting, right? Then if you scroll down, you don't have to do anything else in your data table. All you have to now do those sections in your column sections. Now let's get into the column sections. Think about it. If you want to arrange the name based on the first name and last name, you want to sort the values in ascending or descending or alphabetical order. In that situation, all you have to do is to add this. So let's bring the arrow up and down, import it. Then I need to customize this header. All I have to do is to copy this header completely, and then I'm going to replace this header. So basically inside that header, what they're doing, they are having a arrow function, and they are fetching that particular column object, opening an object and fetching that column details, and they are bringing the button, and they are using the column.toggle sorting function, which is provided by the data table, and they are using the get started option and arrange it in the ascending order. So it will work in the vice versa, right? And this is now, if I save this and if I get back over here, you can see we have a toggle button, and if I click this, it is going to arrange the data based on that, based on the email alphabetical order. See, it's swapping the entire record now. So I have to do the same stuff. So I can copy this header section, copy the header, I can rename the header of the first name, and I can simply say first name. Then I can rename this, I can simply say last name. Then we can do the same stuff for this full name as well as. I can say full name. We can do the same for the status as well as status, right? Now we have all those options, and now I can filter the data based on the status as well as see all the true will come on the top of the list, and I can do the same stuff over here, vice versa, right? So we have that customizations right now. Then all we have to do is to do the pagination options. So you can see we have the pagination options over here. Let's get back to the pagination options, get in the data table, and I can get the get pagination role model. Just copying and pasting. Just have to be very careful when you're copying and pasting it, because you need to know where you are basically copying and pasting it. Otherwise, it's going to cause you an issue, right? And this is the division, right? This is the main division. This is for sorting, and this is the main table. So right after your main table, this is the place. If you expand it, and you can see the table is finishing here and the table is finished over here, and right after they have a division closed, which is nothing but this particular division. So right after here, you need to copy all these stuffs from here. Let's copy this and let me paste it over here. Now let me bring the button as well as /UI button. So save these changes, and that's it. You don't have to do anything else. Now we have the pagination options also. By default, the total row size, it's going to be 5, right? The page index, it's going to be 5. So if it is more than 5, then it will automatically brings that pagination options. 1, 2, 3, it will automatically bring those datas over here in between them, right? So that's the thing. Then yeah, you can add the rest of the stuff, the row selections and column headings and all those things. And now all we have to do is the cell formatting. How to do a cell formatting? Because if you check it out over here, the image, it's literally, it's not displaying anything. So what we have to do is I have to format the cells. So in order to format the cell, right, what we have to do is we have to fetch the informations properly. So here, right after here, I'm going to use this cell property. Cell, I'm going to have a callback function, right? So it's going to have a callback function. So basically inside over here, the cell property inside here, I'm going to get the object, and inside that object, I can get the row instance, the complete row informations. So inside this function now, I can either access any single value. For instance, let's say I want to access the image underscore URL, it's equals to row. From the row, you can access the original data, and from the original data, I can access the image URL, right? That will be saved over here. Then I can simply return what I want to return, right? I can simply say image, I want to return from next image. Then I need to supply the source, basically the source, which is going to be the image URL where we accessed it. Then I need to say alternative, which is going to be let's bring the full name as the alternative. I think we already do have the alternative, or we can say user image or something like that, right? Then we can say width, it's going to be 40, height, which is going to be 40, then class name, which is going to be rounded full, something like this. Now if I say it, okay, so we are getting, yep, so basically the host name issue, basically the image is coming from where? From images.clerk.com. so this image, this host needs to be configured in our Next.js. So let's copy this host name, and all you have to do is to get into your Next.js config, next.config, and here you need to configure it. If you don't know what exactly that you want to do, just click this. That is going to give you how to configure that new host name in your. So all I have to do is to access the images, open it, then I need to open the remote patterns, which is basically the array of objects, Then here you can either directly give it as a new URL, something like this, or you can open an object and simply say host name, which is basically going to be the string, right? And now if you refresh your application, just refresh your app, it is not going to throw that issue. So later, if you are using any external images from any external websites, you have to configure their host names just like this. Create one more object, configure the host name and paste it, right? And now I should be able to see my images over there, right? Just exactly the same way. All we have to do is to for the true or false as well as, right? So let me get back into the columns where we are displaying the status. This is the place. Right after this header, I'm going to access the cell, open a callback array function. And here I need to access the row data. Let's get the row. And inside, I'm just going to use the direct value itself. So which is going to return. So it's going to be a div. Okay. And it's going to be width. Of course, it's going to be full. Flex, item center, justify it in the center. And here I'm gonna create a badge. So if we in the ShadCN, if you search for badge component, something like this, badge. See, we have this badge component where we can display it in the different badges, something like that. So we're gonna use that. So all I have to do is to open it. I'm gonna say badge from add components UI. Here I'm just going to write a condition. If the row dot original dot is approved, if it is true, then I'm just going to say active. He's an active user, or he's a banned user who's banned, right? And here I'm just going to say variant, which is going basically it's going to be the outline variant, and class name. I'm going to use the cn function, which is provided by our ShadCN itself, which is coming from add library utils, which helps us to write the conditional stylings for our Tailwind CSS. So for this, if the row dot original is approved, if it is true, then the border color, it is going to be border green, border emerald 500. If it is not, then the border color needs to be red 500, right? Something like that. And now if I refresh that, you can see the status, it's banned and it is active. And just exactly the same way, here I'm just going to say text emerald 500 and BG emerald 50/20% of that color. And just exactly the same way, text red 500 and BG red 50 and the 20% of that color. Save it. So that's how it looks. Okay. And if you want to fix the increase the height and the things and make it more visible, you can make some customizations. Or what we can do is, let me open this and let me open the chat GPT and let's ask the chat GPT to customize this UI and make it awesome. Let's see what it's doing. So it is giving us something. Oops, it's giving a lot of things. So let me copy from this div to div and let me copy and paste this from here to here. Okay, so we have to get this approved and let me put it over here. So save it and let me get this from the Lucid React and let me get this icon from the Lucid React. Save these changes. So that's how it's looking now. I think this is causing the issue. BG Emerald. Or Yep, that's, I think it's pretty much enough. And I don't need this on hover as well as, let's remove the hover as well as. Yep, I'm satisfied with that work. Okay. Now we have ourselves the status and all those things, and here we just have to do just only one more option where the user can choose the number of rows, how many rows that I want to display in a single page. So for that we need to start writing the code. So for the number of pages stuffs, you need to create a new state in order to do that. So let me get into the data table, and all I have to do is to expand it properly. And right after here, I need to create a new state for our pagination state. So for that, what I'm going to do is const is equals to react dot use state, open it, right? And this state basically it's going to be the pagination state, which is coming from at and stack table. And for that, I'm going to get the pagination state and set pagination. That's the function. And inside this, I'm going to get the object. This object is going to carry on the page index. By default, the page index is going to be 0, and the page size, which is provided by the pagination state, which is going to be the 10. So I'm going to change the default size from 5 to 10. Now, where I can use this pagination, that's the most important thing. So let's say now we have to get the pagination model as well as, right? So let me get into here and let me get these paginations. So I think we already added this pagination row model and everything. And inside the state, I need to bring one more state, which is going to be the pagination state, which we have created. Now we need to figure it out where are the places where we are change the pagination. So whenever the pages it's been changing, we need to change the paginations, right? So that is one specific function over here called on pagination change. When we are going to change the pagination, whenever this function is being triggered, it needs to change. So for that, we need to set that function as a reference, pagination. Set pagination, add the comma, right? Those things are not here, so try to follow up over here. So whenever I'm changing the paginations, the number of counts, I need to trigger this function. So that's the reason we are putting it over here, right? Then what I need to do is I need to have a function of select function over here, right? So for that, what we have to do is where we can keep that we have to wrap the our this is the input, right? Yeah, here it's flex item center, and right after here this is the row pagination options, right? Now here this is the place where I need to select the pagination options, the list of pagination options. So here all I have to say, let's bring the select from R. Let's get back over here and search for select. Oh, come on. I think my network is a little bit slow. Yep. Now I rectified the issue, and here I just have to search for select. Let's open the select, and this is the one we are going to display it over there. And I'm going to copy this import statement and I'm going to put it over here. And let me change this as well as from @/components itself, right? And now yeah, this is the place where we have to bring that one, right? So let me bring the select, and for the select I'm going to say on value change. Whenever the values are being changed, I'm going to call this callback function, right? I'm going to fetch the value, what value that user selected. Then I need to update the pagination, set pagination. Then for this set pagination, I need to have one more callback function where I can access the previous value which is set in that pagination. Then I need to open the object, right? So inside this object, first I need to destructure the previous value. Whatever the previous value it is, I need to destructure it. Then I need to set the page size, which is basically it's going to be the number type. Then I need to supply the value. If the previous size is 5, so I need to replace the 5 with the 10. So this is the proper way to access the previous value and along with setting the new values as well as. So save it. Then the reason why we are fetching the previous value is it's because inside that object you might have the multiple values. I don't want to overwrite the entire object, so that's the reason you have to get the previous objects, whatever the objects which is inside that particular object. And then once you kept all the previous value, I'm just overwriting the pages value. Think about it. By the time when you are accessing it, you accessed page index and the page size. You might have multiple values as well as inside there. So that's the reason we are writing the values over here, something like that. Then I need to set the value for that selected, because every time when you're selecting, you need to set the value. So which is going to be the string of pagination dot page size. Right, I need to display the page size. If you select 10, then I need to display it 10. If I select 6, then I need to display it size something like 6. So that's then I need to convert it into a string, then only I need to set it in the select value. So that's the reason we are using the string function over there. Then I need to bring the select trigger. This is the place where we are going to select the value. So for this, I'm just going to say class name width. I'm just going to fix it for 120 pixels, not more than that. 120 pixels, and margin left needs to be auto. And inside here, I'm gonna get the select value, which is going to be a self-closing tag. Then for that, I'm just going to say placeholder, which is going to be rows per page. Then right after this select trigger, I need to bring the select content. Then I need to display the select item, which is going to be 5. Then I need to supply the value as 5. Then I can simply copy and paste it few more times. Replace this 5 as what? 10. Then I can display it as 20, and the more value which is going to be, wait a second. Oh, come on. 20, and this is going to be 50. Right, now save these changes, and now you should be able to see a new filtering options over there where you can display the rows per page. And I can choose, let's say I want to display the 5, and I can choose number 10, and I can choose number 20, something like that. So this will work perfectly, right? If you want to see how it's going to work, let me show you. Wait, I am just going to say console.log the users. So it will log the users data in the console. Yeah, now we have the users data. I'm just going to copy this object, and instead of supplying the entire users data for the time being, I'm gonna paste that object directly over here. We don't need these two values. Just I'm gonna copy this. Okay, just like the same way, I'm gonna keep on pasting. Come on, copy this and paste it few more times. Yep, now we have multiple values. See, I have selected 20, and if I change it to 5, now we can see only the 5 details. And if I change it to 50, and you can switch between the pages, right? And even you can play around with this pagination options, display page numbers 1 2 3, something like that. We can do that, but in this case, I'm going to leave it there. You can play around with these options just by how exactly we did over here, and you can do all the stuffs by yourself. In this case, I think this is pretty much enough for the data table option, and this is completely reusable, right? So let me revert these changes. I don't want this. I'm gonna get it as the user's data. Then let me delete this and save it. And that is going to display our users data over here, right? So we are pretty much done, and we have ourselves the reusable data table where we can display the users data. So every time whenever the new user is being created, we can bring and display the user status. And last but not least, one of the most important option that we have to do for the user is for cell actions. For the admin, he needs to have a selections where the user can, whether he decides to approve the user or the ban the user, and that is what we are going to do next.